Classrooms are more than mere containers for the educational process. They lay the foundation for relationships, provide a basis for the mode of learning, and act as a motivational space for children to achieve their maximum potential. The idea that to have a quality classroom, the individual should be shaped by the environment and the environment should also be shaped by the individual has become a consensus around the education community. Theorists Bill Rogers and Lev Vygotsky also note the importance the immediate environment can have on students' behaviour, and as a result, alters the experience a student may receive in the classroom. A learning space that caters to the specific needs of students in the classroom, logically, seems to enhance the satisfaction of learning for all involved. It is imperative that the teacher manipulate the variables of the classroom to meet the interests of the students. In such an environment, the teacher is able to establish positive, productive relationship with students, and in turn, learning activities are more easily encouraged and maintained.
The most important thing you can do to manage children like this is have well-prepared lessons. I don't really care what management systems you've got in place. If the lessons aren't appropriate for those kids, you will not control them, I don't think. Firstly, your lessons obviously need to be very carefully prepared, and you need to make sure they're not too long. From what I see of a lot of prac teachers who I've had here, the one mistake they all make is that their lessons are too long. And when the children have lost it, and the children are no longer listening, and the children are no longer participating properly, they don't know when to cut it and stop. It's okay to fail a lesson, or it's okay that a lesson doesn't go the way you planned. It happens to us, it happens to teachers who've been teaching longer than me, and it's certainly going to happen to a beginning teacher. So, above all else, not too long in those lessons so they don't get distracted, and also plan more lessons in each day, especially when you're starting out, than you're actually going to need, so that you've always got something to fall back on.
Any classroom is an ecosystem. Within the room, there are key variables that influence the atmosphere of the classroom. These are teacher, student, curriculum, resource factors, and physical setting factors. All interact constantly in the classroom, and all are critical to the classroom environment. So, though the classroom environment may seem to be simply the physical space and what occupies it, there are many things that affect the classroom environment and how your students may respond to it. For example, your students' ecological factors are the complex and sensitive relationship that involves every element in the context of a child's life. These may include home life, extracurricular activities, dietary needs, physical and mental disabilities, and the student's unique personality. For example, the degree to which strong study practices and positive expectations for success are modelled at home will influence how a child tackles academic tasks at school compared to a child with strong sporting commitments. We also need to consider issues such as personality type, family background details, and individual belief structures, including perceptions about self and others. In the area of school and classroom ecology, factors such as climate, interaction patterns, and your teaching styles play an important part in the experience of your students. Some of the socio-cultural factors are gender, social class, ethnicity, and race. Effective communication is also a fundamental component in classrooms where an ecosystem is established to build healthy relationships and promote positive behaviour. The manner in which messages are relayed to and from class members contributes to a large degree to the ecosystem of the classroom. Active listening allows the communication to be genuinely responsive and is vital to avoid miscommunication and to help negotiate solutions within the classroom. Nonverbal communication is another tactic that can be used in the classroom to build relationships, especially if you feel publicly punishing a student isn't the most effective way to discipline. These may include facial expressions, eye contact, paralinguistics, or tone of voice, positioning and posture, gestures and proximity, and touch.
Make sure your lessons have a lot of scaffolding that you support your kids, especially the lower end kids. They may not be a discipline problem, but if they can't understand the work and they can't do the work, they soon will become a discipline problem. Now you're not dealing with 2 or 3 problems, now you're dealing with a whole lot more. So Lots of scaffolding, keep them supported, make them succeed, and they'll start to enjoy school, or at least enjoy school a lot more than they would normally, and you'll have a better time with your class.
Seating arrangements provide a basic structure to the classroom, and in the case of many students, the provision of a structured working environment can assist them to organise themselves and to understand the behaviour that is expected. In addition, the classroom environment acts as a symbol to the students regarding what their teacher values in learning. The spatial structure of the classroom essentially sets the stage and creates the framework for a positive classroom ecosystem.
Also, I would form class rules in collaboration with the children. For two reasons. The main reason, I suppose, for that is that it gives them ownership of their rules, and then also ownership and responsibility for not breaking those rules. So if they put the rules on the board or on a board with you, then they're saying that they are rules that they agree to and they're reasonable and fair and that they can abide by. So I'd make sure those rules were firm, because those kids will need firm rules, but obviously not too rigid that they can't cope. They also have to be rules that are enforceable and therefore not unrealistic or ridiculous. If they're suggesting rules which are obviously dangerous or silly, you have to give them a reason why you can't have that, and so that's understood from the very start. If you're fair, children from these backgrounds will really like you, because the one thing they hate is unfairness. So if if the rules are enforceable and easily understood by all, you'll tend to be fairer. There'll be no dispute about the rights and wrongs and when somebody's broken a rule, and they will respect that a lot more, and they'll respect you a lot more. They have a lot of respect for firm but fair teachers, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Groupings of tables are a main feature of the physical surroundings and provide the basis for instructional methods that are student-centred and where social interaction is encouraged. The manner in which you group your students will vary on your teaching style and your specific group of students. Here are some videos of other teachers explaining their specific seating arrangements. Their ideas relate to Vygotsky's socio-cultural theory of providing socially rich learning spaces where development occurs first between people and then inside the child. Overall, there are 10 recommended practices for learning environments. Some we have already discussed. Seating to promote learning, codes of conduct and rules. This classroom code should be clearly shown in the learning space so all students are aware and become familiar with the positive behaviours that are expected. Using visual displays in classroom breeds success because students are provided with specific examples of how success is obtained. Anxiety is also reduced as students understand where their boundaries are, and therefore all relationships are free to flourish and strengthen. Effective and quick transitions, transparent routines where students are aware of daily habits, a stimulating physical environment, a plan for when disruptions occur, being proactive rather than reactive, positive communication and interaction processes, strategies for increasing behaviours, strategies for decreasing and preventing behaviours, and recognition of individual needs.
Reward systems. The school probably will have a reward system in place, and I wouldn't change it, and I would stick with what they have got. Most reward systems are reasonably good, and they're there to be used as each teacher sees fit. As long, again, as you're consistent with that reward system, it should be effective to whatever degree. Some teachers incorporate further reward systems, like free time and time doing things that kids want. You have to find out what works for you. But generally stick to the reward system in place. And I think the big mistake teachers, not only who start out make, but teachers in general make, is that they give rewards to children who are the most disruptive when they finally show a little bit of initiative of their own. I think this is very bad, and I think it's fair enough to explain to them you have to do more to get the same rewards as the other children, because again, the children who are there every day working well and working hard, doing their best, feel it's unfair that somebody behaves for one moment and gets rewarded. So again, back to the fairness thing.
Right from the start, on day one, I sit down with my class and we jointly construct the classroom rules. We brainstorm the rules and routines. We make sure that we keep respect, fairness, and the school rules in mind. This creates ownership for the students, and they end up taking responsibility for their own behaviour. I also like to keep a positive behaviour rewards program that really focuses on the students individually, as well as incorporating the school's own reward system. I believe this shows the students that good behaviour is rewarded on multiple levels, which in turn motivates them. Of course, it's important to make sure the rewards match the students' interests, keeping that motivation alive.
Firstly, I would say when trying to control the management of the children, I would adhere pretty strictly to the current school behaviour policy, because that policy would have been written with those particular children in mind, and given that it's a fairly rough and tough school, I would think that it would also consider the safety needs of those kids. So I wouldn't be changing too much of what is already in place as far as behaviour management, because I'm sure it's there for a good reason.
The New South Wales Quality Teaching Model emphasises the importance of a quality learning environment. They state that the learning is improved within the classroom or other learning environments which provide high levels of support for learning. A positive environment is often understood as caring, safe and supportive, and needs to be sustained by the adults who share their learning environment. This table shows the way that the elements look in the classroom. These are explicit quality criteria, engagement, high expectations, social support, student self-regulation, and student direction. These can be directed into tangible and atmospheric areas in the classroom. Teaching New Dogs Old Tricks suggests reading this document for a more thorough understanding of their perspective on quality environments. If the purpose of education is to develop learning and knowledge and to stimulate inquiry, then the physical environments in which this happens should provide a positive contribution. We believe your classroom environment should be aimed at one thing only: to suit your own students.